anyways.
No.
I like Portland.
The thing you have to remember about Maine is that Lewiston is north of Portland. It's south of Bangor.
Bangor.
I'm in.
But when you get to Bangor, you are only about, you're about 180th Street.
Pierce Street.
Do you remember it at all?
Of course, I was born and brought up there and I lived there till I got married. I lived there till I got married. We were across the street from the Faulkner School. That's the school that we all went to. Faulkner School was an elementary school that had, went up as far as the 6th grade.
And you started there in kindergarten, right?
They didn't have public kindergarten. We started 1st grade.
Is that where you used to go to have your Aunt Bess make your curls, Grandma?
What day?
Is that where Aunt Bess was when you would go across the street for her to make your curls?
Yeah.
Did Aunt Bess do that for all three of you?
Well,
Well, she was a second mother.
when
I want to put those away.
it was recess time, my mother would send me over because she had difficulty. She was a lefty and she had a little difficulty with many things.
Wait, great Grandma Glazer was a lefty?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was ambidextrous, actually. She could do things with both hands.
She would send me over for Bess to make my curls. And she'd make the big Mary Pickford curls. Then when Bess went to work, she'd come home at night and she'd wash and starch my dresses. So the next day when I went to school, I was in a freshly starched dress. And Bess wanted me to see and have all the things that she wanted and couldn't have. So she made sure to get me the elocution lessons and the dancing lessons and all that. And as time went on, after she'd been through 3 husbands, and your grandfather was very fond of Bess, so we started to travel a lot, and we always took Bess with us. She paid her own way, but she wouldn't have gotten to these places without that, except when she was married to the millionaire.
Did how old were you guys both when Aunt Bess got married the first time?
When she married Nate, I was about 6 or 7.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
'Cause I was 9
I
when
was
Harold was
already in junior high school,
Yeah, and I was 9 when Harold was born.
so when
I cried the whole week she was on her honeymoon. And when they got home, my mother said, I don't know what to do with her. She won't eat. She won't do anything. She's so lonesome. So Nate said, well, we'll take her home with us. So I went to Beverly. They lived out near the beach. I went to Beverly and visited them for a couple of weeks. They got home from their honeymoon. But the house on Pierce Street was a very lovely house. It was a 2-family house. We had 8 rooms. And our uncle and aunt owned the rest, and they had 8 rooms. It was a joint.
Was it a side-by-side 2-family house or an
No,
upstairs and
we
downstairs?
lived on the
Up and
1st
down.
floor. Aunt and uncle lived on the 2nd floor, and there was some additional bedrooms on the 3rd floor.
we all had bedrooms.
We all
on
had
the
bedrooms.
third.
Gertie and I shared a bedroom.
So who shared bedrooms with who?
Gertie and I shared a bedroom. And of course,
And I
he
slept
had-
with Aunt Bess.
she and
Until
the
Aunt Bess
boys
got married.
had a big bedroom with 2 double beds in it.
So all 4 of them were in the same
No,
room?
not the 4 of them. Percy was married already by the time I got out of the crib. And, you know, when we were really little, there were cribs down in Grandma's bedroom. And Percy got married when I was about 4 or 5. And
Yeah, you were a baby. When
yeah,
you got
and,
married.
all
In 1929, Bess got married.
Percy we're talking about, Percy and Martha.
And when I was growing up, I didn't know whether Martha was my sister and Percy was my brother. Percy was my brother and she was my sister-in-law. I mean, she was like a sister. I never knew whether she was a sister or a sister-in-law until I got old enough to know the difference.
What do you remember about your siblings being teenagers? What were Grammy and Aunt Gert like when they were teenagers?
Well, I'll tell you. Your Aunt Gert, of course, was the best-natured person in the world. Your Aunt Edie was very good to me in many ways, but she didn't like to take me with her when she went places. And she used to sneak away so she didn't have to take me with her.
Do you remember that, Grammy?
Oh, yeah, and I used to sneak away from Gitty.
Yeah.
My mother
Oh, she
wanted,
says she wouldn't go any place without me.
my mother wouldn't let me be alone. So she'd send Gitty with me. Like, if I went to the Malden Public Library, which was maybe about a half mile away, I had to take Gitty with me. Whatever I did, I had to take Gitty with me.
So she'd sneak away. And she'd go to her friend Genevieve's. And they'd just sneak away. And then poor Gitty, Grandma'd say, well, Edie left without her. Do you want to take her with you? And Gertie, good-natured, she'd say, I'll take her. So she'd take me. She'd take me with her. And I remember once after many, many years, a friend of hers lived in Florida. Vanek, what's her name?
Giovanni.
Joe Vanek. I took Edie came to visit me and I took her over to Cousin Rose's. And Rose had this Joe Vanek over there. And she looked at me and said, oh, the brat that we used to run away from.
What was she like as a little kid, Grammy?
She was a spoiled little girl.
Yeah,
You know,
everybody
she
was-
had 3 older sisters and 4 older brothers. So, you know, she
I
was
was
a little
spoiled.
bit spoiled. She liked her own way, and she got her own way, right?
Absolutely, I will
Esther
admit it.
spoiled? What are you talking about?
I was spoiled, I really was. Everybody catered to me, I was a little after them.
And she got sick. She got scarlet fever.
Oh, I didn't know
God.
anything about that.
And in those days, scarlet fever was a terrible scourge. And you had to be isolated.
That's right.
Up the street, way up in.
There was an
At
old,
the end of the street, there was a contagious hospital.
Yeah,
It
was
was just for contagious
diseases of children.
And this poor little girl was stuck up in the hospital for 6 weeks.
We used to
And
go
we
up
had to
there.
stay out of school for 6 weeks.
How old
No,
were you?
no.
No.
They told Grandma that if she sent me to the contagious hospital, their period of incubation would only be a week and a half, like 10 days, 2 weeks of school.
And we used to go up to the
Otherwise,
window.
it would be 6 weeks.
If you just
We
stayed in your
told
own
the
house.
window was
Yeah,
the
so
room
she sent me up
and
there.
waved to her.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
That's
and there was
good.
a big porch, and they'd all come out there, and I'd cry. I want
How old
my
were you?
brothers. I want my sisters. I don't want to stay here. And you know, they took me to that contagious hospital in an ambulance.
Oh, just up the street?
It was about a mile and a
Oh.
half because there was a big park
Yeah.
up there. It was an old estate that had been turned into a hospital, and Uncle Ben hid in the ambulance. And when they came to take me out of the ambulance, he said, you can't have my sister. If she goes in there, I go with her. And they had to call somebody to come and get him. Because he wasn't going to let me stay there without having somebody in my family with me.
How old were you?
I was about 5. I was very small, 4 or 5. Yeah.
Wow.
See, I didn't go to school yet, but the rest